Okay, I'm going to work on problem number 24 from chapter 5. And this is a suture packaging problem. And the basic idea is you're given a data file, and from the data file, um, you have information related to a so-called batch number, temperature, pressure, and dwell time in that data file. And basic idea is that the data file contains failed batches, and from that, it actually gives you the information in the data file. It gives you the information on the specific type of failure you had. And what we need to do is figure out percentages of each type of failure. So you're either going to fail due to temperature, pressure, dwell time, or a combination of these. It might be more than one. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start Visual Studio, and I'm using Visual Studio Community on this computer. And so if you're using Visual Studio Community, it'll open up something like this. So what I'm going to do is, first thing is create a new project. And I'm going to select console application here. Okay. And I'll just select next. And what I want to do is make sure that it's on the desktop. It makes life a lot easier if you put everything on the desktop. So I'll just select desktop, select folder, and then I'm going to follow my standard naming convention. Last name, chapter, problem number. So problem, in this case, problem 24. Okay. And place solution and project in the same directory. I'll just say create from here. I'll just do the default. Okay. And here's what comes up. All right. So this is slightly different than what we have. If we're doing using namespace, we won't need this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this. I really don't need this information here. And this is pretty much it. This is our standard template that we'll use, okay? And now what we want to do is we'll actually go get the data file that we need, okay? So if you have the Solution Explorer, you just go click over here and it shows you your CPP file, okay, from the source. If the Solution Explorer wasn't being shown, you can always just go to View and select Solution Explorer. So if it was closed, oh, closed all those, View Solution Explorer, and it'll come up. Okay, you can always use the tack to if you wanted to hide it or not. Let me see. I'm going to click it again here. Okay. All right. So let's go to the website and get the file that we need. So if you go and log in on the course page and select, so from the course page and data files, this will come up. So from here, I'm going to go grab this, the suture.dat file, and download it. So where I actually want to put it, of course, is I'm going to go to the desktop. I'm going to go to my project here, my project folder. And actually, it looks like we created another one inside here. Oh, so right here, I can save it. I'll save it in the project folder. And then you can actually go look. You want to do source files over here. So let me just open this up. Source files, add, existing item, and it looks like I didn't put it in the right place. So it's supposed to show up here, right? It depends upon how I originally selected. I did not put the solution and the source file in the same directory. So you might have it something like this. But the key part here is that you need to have the file in this directory, okay? So let me just do this. And I'll go over to my project, which is right here, the one I just created. And you see where the suture.dat is actually in the wrong place. So I'm just going to do copy, or I can do move, but I'll just do a copy and then paste here. So I already did it. I'm just going to delete it from here. Delete. Okay. But you could do a cut and paste and put it over here. But the key part is here is that it needs to be in the same directory as your CPP file. Okay. So if I go back to Visual Studio and my source files. Now I can go add existing item and suture.dat. There it is. I'm going to add that. Okay. So now you see it's in the same place. All right. So what we need to do from here is we can actually go here and I can just double click on this one and open it, and then we can see the data that's in it. Okay. So what we have is we have the, if we just look at the actual structure of the file, the first number here is just a batch number. So really, it's not really relevant for this particular program. But what we found in this one is that 6 of these batches have failed, or 6 of these items have failed, okay? And with the batch number associated with it. So the next thing is this is the actual temperature, and it's either inside or outside of the range. The range for temperature is 150 to 170 degrees C. So this one actually is, the temperature is too low. So it failed because of that. And then we look at the pressure. This is pressure, and 62.3. The range is 60 to 70 as I look at the problem. And that one is okay. And the last one is the dwell. And the dwell is between 2 and 2.5 seconds. And this one is 2.13. So it actually passes. All right. So if we're looking at it, what we would find is that this one actually failed because of temperature. Okay. But now we know the structure of the data. Batch number, temperature, pressure, and then dwell time. Okay. So at this point, we're all set for this. Okay. So I'll just go back to my CPP file. And what I want to do is my file is actually called suture.dat. We know we need that. But first part I'm going to do here is I'm just going to set this up as we normally would. So first thing, because I'm using files, I need to put in fstream. Okay. The next thing is using namespace. That's what I'm going to use for all of my programs that I write in C++ here for this course. So this allows us then we don't need something like this. This is a scope resolution, and the : is scope resolution operator, and then std tells us essentially what library. Okay. All right. So this is our basic template to start it with. And let me put one more thing here. System pause. Okay. So it'll stop and wait. And then I don't need this line, of course. Okay. All right. So that's my basic template to get started. Okay. I can just save this one. All right. So let me go back to the actual problem here. So like we said, suture packaging. This one's not really too relevant for us, but this one contains the information we care about for this particular problem. And so what are we going to have? We have some variables: temperature, pressure, and dwell time, right? So we need those. We need to read those in. So what I'll do is I'll start off the program with just those variables. Now, the second part of this, I need to look at them. So this is an integer. Oh, sorry. It's, if we look at the data file here, go back to the data file, we see that the first one actually batches integer, but these have to be double data type, right? So temperature, pressure, and dwell time all need to be of the double data type, okay? But batch number or batch can be an integer. And that's really what we're looking at, okay? So let's do that first. Let's go define those. So I'll go back to my program, and I'm going to have a double data type, and this is going to be pressure, temperature, and dwell. And I'll say dwell time, and I'll use my camel notation for that, okay? Then the next thing is I'm going to create an integer one, and this is my batch. So that's like the first one I'm going to read in, okay? Okay. So we need to actually have a file stream object, right? Because we're reading an input file stream object because we're reading a data file. We're reading our information from a data file. So I'm going to do if stream, and I'm going to call it file input. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open it and basically make a connection to it, my program, the way my program can interface with this. And it's called suture.dat. Okay. Then after that, I want to check to make sure that it actually opened properly, because we don't want my program to continue if it didn't open properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do file, input, dot fail. So I'm going to use the fail method or fail function on the file input. Okay. And we haven't really talked about functions, what they are, but the next chapter, chapter 6, gets into functions, which we'll cover and we'll start to cover next time. Okay. So if we have a failure, this will actually return true, and it'll go down into this function. And I'll just say error, opening, file. All right. First part is, well, if you don't open the file correctly, might as well stop here and try to figure out why it didn't open correctly. And the typical thing is, either it's named improperly or it's not in the right place. Okay. Then I'll do a system pause also here, because I want to stop here and show the message. Otherwise, it may continue on. Now, of course, if we do Control F5, it would stop automatically, but I'll do it this way. Oh, sorry. Exit. We could do exit -1. We could do return. It really doesn't matter. Okay. And the last thing I'm going to do here is file, input, .0rc. Okay. All right, then we'll do a system pause and also a return 0. Okay. That just matches this return type up here, which we'll talk more about next chapter. Okay. So here's the real basic structure of the program. Really I don't read anything in yet, but the first part here is just to open the file. Hey, is it open correctly? Yes or no. If it doesn't, I got to figure out why. Okay. If it does, then we should be fine. So if it goes to the end now, if I run it and get some error. Oh, something's missing. And let's take a look and see where that is. Oh, right here. Don't need that. Okay. Let me run it again. Okay. So it looks like it worked properly. Virus checking. Good thing I have that. Huh? So it opened properly and didn't give me an error, so we should be good. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I want to actually read the file. So I'm going to do file, input. And I know the first column in the file is the batch number, so I'll just say batch. Oh. And then the next column after that, oh, sorry, of course. Wrong direction. That's actually the output operator. So it's like from the file to batch, then it's going to be to temperature. Okay, I'm using the temperature variable. And then it's pressure. Of course, how I define the variables up here really doesn't matter, the ordering I did here. And then the last one is dwell time. Okay. And the next thing I can do is I can just do cout. And really all I'm looking for here is I'm looking to see that I read the data in properly and displayed it. Okay. Display it after that, just so before we press on, we want to make sure that it works up to this point. Okay. Okay. So let me save this and I'll run it. Okay. So there's the actual data that's written out. Let me put okay. Let me actually go in here and put some spaces or something, maybe tabs, just so you can see it. So I'll do a dash backslash T. That's a, sorry, /T. That's my escape sequence for tab. So I'll put a tab between batch and temperature, and then I'll put a tab between temperature and pressure, and then I'll put a tab between pressure and dwell time. And then I'll just go in here and do an end line. Oh, okay. If I run it, save it, run it. Doesn't like something. Oh, it's already open somewhere. That's typically the error you'll get if the executable is already open somewhere.